Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the session on building secure web apps and connecting to data faster with Power Pages. My name is Cindy Kwan, and I'm a product manager on the Power Pages team. I'm joined here today with my teammates, Brad, who's also a product manager, and Nitish, our product designer. In this session, we'll be diving into some of the new features and demos for how to build data-centric business sites and how to monitor, govern, and secure your sites. Let's get started with a quick overview of Power Pages. Power Pages is one of the 5 offerings in the Power Platform. Power Pages is a low-code platform for building and launching enterprise-grade websites for collecting and sharing business data with external audiences. Power Pages is widely adopted and trusted by enterprises like Visa, Accenture, T-Mobile, and others. 67% of Fortune 500 companies are using Power Pages, and Power Pages is serving more than 160 million monthly active users. Power Pages today supports several industries, including government, financial services, manufacturing, and automotive and transport. The top use cases are customer self-service, application processing, FAQ, and incident reporting. Power Pages is optimized for Fusion teams with low-code makers, professional developers, and IT admins to build and launch data-centric sites. Power Pages has 4 key capabilities, and in this session today, we're going to be focusing on the first 3, data connectivity, low-code and pro-dev tools, and security and governance. The 4th capability is AI-assisted development, which we won't be covering in today's session. Earlier in the week, there was a demo session on the Power Pages Maker Copilot experiences, and if anyone missed that session or want to learn more, we have a booth upstairs on the 5th floor, and feel free to join us later today. So let's take a look at the new capabilities for building data-centric business sites. This all starts with data connections, and there are 4 ways to connect to business data from Power Pages. The first is native data sources. Out-of-the-box Dataverse tables are available to all your Power Pages sites. And if you're using a Dynamics 365 product, that data is also stored in Dataverse and available to Power Pages sites. The second is external data sources. With virtual tables, you can connect to your line of business data from Power Pages. Number 3 is Power Automate. Power Automate offers over 1,000 connectors, and you can invoke and connect to any of these connectors from Power Pages. And number 4, Power Pages is also offering high-value integrations to accelerate development. Let's do a deep dive on 2, 3, and 4, which are the new data connectivity options in Power Pages. Power Pages Design Studio has a no-code virtual table creation experience. With virtual tables, makers can then connect Dataverse to external data sources like SQL and SharePoint. Makers can also utilize all of the out-of-the-box data components like forms and lists with external data sources. Makers can also easily secure their data with table permissions by assigning role-based access controls. And additionally, pro devs can also write code to connect virtual tables to custom data providers like Azure Cosmos DB. Power Automate has over 1,000 connectors, and makers can invoke and connect to any of these connectors from Power Pages. You can trigger a Cloudflow based on an event or a user action, such as clicking on a button, submitting a form, or even calling an external API to automate data collection and processing. Additionally, you can also store files in any data source using Power Automate. This enables makers to build sites where their users can upload files, which can be stored on any storage that the organization uses. Power Pages also offers high-value integrations to accelerate development. We recently released the capability to add e-signature, like DocuSign, to a multi-step form. And at Ignite, I'm excited to announce the no-code capability for accepting payments on Power Pages sites. Makers can add payment component to a multi-step form that supports a variety of payment methods. This can be configured and enabled in a few clicks. This integration is built with industry-leading payment providers that ensures you are accepting payments in a PCI-compliant manner. Once you have the data connection set up, you're now ready to build your site. Power Pages is optimized for Fusion Team development, so there are tools for both low-code makers as well as professional developers. Power Pages Design Studio is a low-code WYSIWYG authoring tool, best for defining your sitemap and for designing and building web pages. With Design Studio, makers can easily create visually appealing and engaging web pages. So for example, when you're building a home page, you can easily add a background image and center it nicely in a hero section. Makers can also quickly add contrast between that background image and the text so headlines are accessible. There's so many ways to style and design a web page, and in the coming months, expect to see more no-code styling capabilities in Design Studio. Business sites typically have custom layouts and functionality, and organizations will want to reuse these custom experiences across their sites and their applications. Power Pages supports reusable custom components, including web code components and web templates. Code components are built using the Power Apps component framework, and these components can be reused on Power Apps like Canvas apps and model-driven apps, as well as Power Pages. In Power Pages, pro devs can add these code components to a web page or a data form via code, and makers can then configure their properties in Design Studio. Developers can also use web templates to build reusable custom layouts and functionality on their Power Pages sites. Developers can add a manifest in the web template definition that specifies which properties they want configurable in Design Studio. By supporting the configurations of code components and web templates in Studio, we're accelerating Fusion Team development because now pro devs and low-code makers can work together to build and configure these custom experiences. And in the long run, this will also improve the maintainability of the site. For more advanced customizations, makers and developers can now transition from the Design Studio to Pro Code by launching VS Code for Web code editor. VS Code for Web provides a free zero-install VS Code experience that runs entirely in your browser. And from there, you can access the source files for the site and make lightweight code changes. Additionally, in VS Code for Web, there's a VS Code Chat Copilot experience, which provides coding assistance and can accelerate page customizations. When building Power Pages sites, oftentimes you have makers and developers working simultaneously on the site, so they might be editing the same web pages, CSS files, and even web templates. VS Code for Web provides awareness and notifications for out-of-date files, and also provides options to compare and overwrite and merge changes. Now going back to Design Studio, there's also the ability to see in real time who's actively editing a page in Studio or in VS Code for Web. Makers can tag others and add comments to the page, improving Fusion Team collaboration and productivity. Now I'm going to hand it over to Brad and Atish to show a live demo of these features.
Thanks, Cindy. So Atish and I are going to show how these features work in Power Pages, and we're going to start by showing a demo of the actual product that we plan to build. So we'll be using a combination of our Design Studio, VS Code, and Power Automate to show you how this works. So for the scenario today, we have the very well-known Woodgrove Bank here, which we've created a website for. And my account is automatically logged in. And as you see here, I have my name, which is being populated from my profile here. And then there's a button here to view my personalized credit card offers. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. Who doesn't want another credit card? And this screen here is going to populate a list of the credit card offers that are available for me to apply for. So what the user doesn't realize is all of this is actually backed by a Power Automate workflow to generate these credit cards. So I will show you how that works later on. So we can go ahead and apply to this first one. This looks good. I like to dine and travel, so I'm going to apply now. And this brings us to a basic application form here where I can just fill out some information to start the application process. Now, something that's special about this form is that it's actually backed by a virtual table in Dataverse. So Woodgrove Bank, they actually store all of their line of business data in an external SQL data store. And so by using these virtual tables as a pass-through, in Studio, everything looks and feels like Dataverse, yet it's stored externally in a SQL database. So we'll show more on that later as well. So I'll go ahead and just accept the terms and conditions here, submit the form, and hopefully someone from the bank gets in touch with me soon. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Nitish, who's going to give us a tour of how this is built in the Design Studio.
Thank you, Brad. Hey everyone, I'm Nitish. I'm a low-code maker at Woodgrove. So as Brad said, the Woodgrove's bank data is in SQL. So I come to Design Studio in the data workspace where I can create a new table. And I see a new option, it's called plus new table from external data. With this, allows me to create a virtual table. It opens a panel and where I can choose my data sources. I can see SharePoint and SQL. For this, I'll choose SQL and hit next. I just need to provide SQL Server name and database name that I have. And what this would do, this would bring the data that is available in SQL. And I can easily map all the SQL columns to Dataverse. And it would bring and make that connection with Dataverse table. For this demo, I've already created a table, which you can see here. It's called Credit Card Applications. And I can see all my columns which were available in SQL can easily show up in Dataverse. I can edit table properties, see different views and forms, which are Dataverse entities. Now, I want to use this new table to create a form. So I go back to Pages workspace, where I can see on page application, this is the form, and this form is now using that new table that I just created, and all the data remains in SQL. So that is amazing. I've got a new requirement to add a payment step in this website so that customers can make payments on the website. So I can easily do that by first configuring the payments in the setup workspace. So I go to setup workspace, I see external apps. And here I can see some out-of-the-box integrations like DocuSign for e-signature and Stripe for digital payments. I can very quickly configure by putting the secret key and publishable key from Stripe. For this demo, I've already configured, so I can easily go to my payments page. And here I have a multi-step form, which I select. I change the settings for this multi-step form. I go to App Integrations tab, and I can see I just need to turn on this toggle to enable digital payments on this form. I connect the amount field to amount and hit OK. And very quickly, I see Stripe interface for payments. And for me, as a low-code maker, it can't go more low-code than this. It's very easy for me to enable these integrations like payments and DocuSign. So this makes me really happy. But I'm a designer as well, so this page is looking a bit boring at the moment. So I can easily use the Design Studio's WYSIWYG tools to add new sections. So I'll add a column for the hero section. I can add a background image to bring more visual appeal to this page. And in here, I can search thousands of stock images, so you don't need to worry about searching on any search providers to get the image. I can search here, let's say, for payment, and I get a very nice image for meeting that criteria. So these are all royalty-free stock images. I select that and insert that to the section that I have here, and this would add the image. Now I can also change the layout, different styling options for this image that I can choose. My image is here. I want to add a text component here as well to just anchor the message and communicate better. So I'll say make a payment. Yes. And I can use these Vysiwyg tools to change the color of this. I can select this and change to different fonts. And let me go ahead and change the color. I can select these and make it center aligned. And I see I have the image and text very easily, but the contrast is not really there yet. So I can use these capabilities called design. And in here, I can easily add an overlay to bring more contrast to this image. I can use one of my brand colors here, so I don't need to worry about which colors to pick. All my colors are there. I can easily drag this window around to see all the changes reflected in real time. I can add different corner radius if needed to bring or align to my brand guidelines for Woodgrove. So this is looking good to me. And very easily, as you can see, this page is looking much better with all the images, text, and multi-step form with payments. Now I feel like I'm done making changes, so I'll just drop a comment here to my team that, hey, I can easily tag different team members. In this demo environment, I don't have anyone else, but I can easily tag others and say, hey, I am done, and oops, over to you, and hit send, and this would send the comment, and the person will get a notification. So everything can be tracked, and it enhances the Fusion team productivity. So with this, I'll hand it over to Brad. Thank you.
Thanks, Nitish. So what I want to show you next is how this page to generate the personalized offers here was built. So as I mentioned earlier in the actual end website, this is completely generated by a Power Automate workflow that just goes out and calls an API and returns these credit card offers to Power Pages. So let me show you how that's all set up. So to start, we're just going to go over to the setup workspace here on the left menu, and then go down to the Cloudflow options. So here you see all the existing Cloudflows that are using a Power Pages connector. So you can easily, if you've already created them in Power Automate, you can easily add those to your site. And we also have the ability to create new Power Automate workflows without ever leaving Studio. So we bring Power Automate to you. It's a very familiar interface that you'll see here. If you search for the Power Pages connector, that will come up, and you can use that to create new flows. And we also have the flow checker here from Power Automate. So this will let you know if there's any errors or warnings in the new flow that you create. So for our demo today, we already have an existing flow here, this get personal offers final. We had a couple versions of this. And I just want to show you quickly how this is set up. So it's very simple. The flow has a name. The flow has an API endpoint that we can call from using like VS Code and JavaScript. And then finally, you can actually configure roles that restrict who can trigger this flow. So you have control over what users in the end website can trigger this Power Automate workflow. So let's just go in and look at the flow details here. And this is going to take us over to Power Automate. I've just had this tab ready so it's easier to load. So this is the workflow that's being generated when the user loads that personalized offers page. So the flow starts with this Power Pages connector, and this allows us to pass variables into the workflow. So in this case, we've passed in the logged in user ID, and then this is used in the code to get the offers that are available for that specific user. So that's how we actually personalize it. And then there's just a very simple call here to an API. And then ultimately, we return the values back to Power Pages in the form of a JSON response. So now I want to show you how we're actually triggering this from the page when it loads. So I'm going to go back to Design Studio and back to our Cloudflow here. Now we have this really simple button right next to the URL. So this is the endpoint that I was showing previously. And I can click this and copy it to my clipboard. And this is nice because then I can use this API endpoint in VS Code so that it knows where to go. So then I can just go over back to my page in Design Studio. And we have this button in the top right to edit code. So what this is going to do is open up VS Code, and with one click, you have access to all of the source files in your site. So for this page specifically, we have a web template that is powering all of this. So the web template is actually calling through to the Power Automate flow. Let me just click this again. OK, there we go. So these are all the files in the site. And if we go down here under Web Templates, this is where a lot of the logic is happening. And these are reusable across your site, as Cindy mentioned earlier. So for our page here, we have the credit card detail web template, which is powering this. And I just want to call to your attention one thing here, which is a very simple AJAX call. So this is just boilerplate code for Power Automate, which is basically calling this endpoint. So it's already pasted in here, but this is where I would paste the URL that I copied earlier. And then it's just returning a JSON object that you can use and manipulate with the code here. So for us, we're just taking this JSON file, and then we are enumerating through each record and then printing out the HTML to the site. So it's pretty straightforward stuff here. And this just shows the power of just connecting these web templates, which are reusable, with Power Automate workflows. So you can kind of abstract that logic into Power Automate, and you can just call it in a centralized way. So the last thing that I want to show here, just switching gears a little bit, is how to create variables that are then exposed in Design Studio. So for example, as a pro dev, I might want to expose the number of offers that are returned in that personalized offers page. So how many credit cards are shown for each user. So here in VS Code, in the manifest, we can just put this simple variable here. And then if I pop back over to Studio, so this is the custom component, which is showing in Studio. And let's say if I was like marketing or a product manager, and I wanted to test out how many offers leads to the highest click-through rate, I could easily do that by just changing this variable here in Studio, and then that adjusts how many records are shown. So this is a really powerful way to, as a pro dev, a way that you can expose variables for the low-code makers to use directly in Studio. So that concludes this demo, and I'm going to pass it back over to Cindy, who's going to talk about some more of the features.
Thank you, Brad and Nitish. So that was a great example of how Fusion teams with local makers and pro devs can work together to build a Power Pages site. So now, switching gears, let's take a look at the new capabilities for monitoring, governing, and securing Power Pages sites. In the Power Platform Admin Center, there's a dashboard listing all the Power Pages sites in your tenant. You can use any of those cards at the top to filter this list of websites. So for example, clicking on the trial sites card right at the top there, it'll filter this list to show me the trial sites, and I'll be able to quickly glance and see which sites are about to expire and convert them to production. In the next tab, we have the Security tab, where you'll get a snapshot of all things security related for your sites in the tenant or the environment. You'll get key security insights, such as the number of sites which have enabled anonymous access to Dataverse data, the sites which have web application firewall disabled, and sites which are using external authentication providers. This security dashboard gives admins visibility into the security health of all their Power Pages sites across the tenant and allows them to take actions that will enhance the security posture of their sites. Moving over to the third tab is the Analytics tab that gives admins a snapshot of all traffic to their sites. There's a breakdown of the active user counts by site and by duration, making it easy for admins to monitor website traffic. Okay. And coming soon, we're planning a one-stop shop admin dashboard that lets admins monitor and govern their Power Pages sites in the tenant with ease and efficiency. Admins will be able to see a paper trail of all the key Power Pages actions that were taken in the tenant and see who took the actions and when. Okay. And for licensing monitoring, we're introducing a licensing dashboard which shows all the license types in use in the tenant and the relevant metrics. For Power Pages pre-purchase capacity, this dashboard shows the available capacity, the capacity assignments, and the capacity consumption. The capacity management experience has also been improved to show past consumption data to help determine the capacity required for an environment. And finally, we added support for licensing-related notifications that will show up as recommendations in the Admin Center and will be sent as email as well. Now let's take a look at some of the governance capabilities that were recently launched. Because Power Pages is for collecting and sharing business data, it's important that admins have control over who can access their sites and the data. There's now a governance setting to disable anonymous access to Dataverse data across all Power Pages sites. And once this setting is enforced, makers will not be able to configure table permissions to provide anonymous access. This setting gives admins peace of mind that their data can only be accessed by the right users. Okay. Another governance setting that is coming soon will allow admins to disable specific authentication providers. And makers will not be able to use any authentication provider other than the ones that have been allowed by the admin. So now I'm going to hand it over to Brad to show a live demo of these admin dashboards.
Thanks, Cindy. All right, so I'm going to show here in the Power Platform Admin Center the new tabs and dashboards that Cindy just shared. So here, if you go in Power in PPAC, which we call it, Power Platform Admin Center. On the left side here, there's a Resources tab, and then you can see all of your Power Pages sites, governance dashboards in one place. So on the first landing page, this just kind of gives you an overview of all the sites in your tenant. So what's going to show here is not everything in an environment, but all the sites that this person has access to in the entire tenant. So this gives admins like a single view across all the sites. And from here, you can do just some basic things from an admin level, like checking for portal package upgrades. You can disable anonymous access on a site, or you can purge the server cache. So what I want to show today is these two new tabs at the top that are coming soon. The first one is security. So this really just gives you security insights into the sites in the tenant. At the top here, you have some important things, the configuration settings that an admin might want to know about, such as how many sites have anonymous access enabled, or whether the web application firewall is disabled. And right from here, you can just simply click View Details, and this is going to pull up all of the sites that match that criteria, whichever one you clicked. And from here, you can also go into PPAC for that specific site, and you can modify the security settings from here, such as turning on the firewall or disabling anonymous access. Below that, we have this pretty fancy dashboard here, which shows a ranking of the site security health for each site. So here, as you can see, we have some that are listed as enhanced and advanced. And if you follow this link at the bottom, it explains exactly how this is calculated. But what I really like is next to here, there's a link to view more details. And this brings you to the site checker. So I've just preloaded this because it takes about 1 minute or so to run. And this shows you any sort of warnings or past tests that were a part of this site checker. So, if I'm looking at a site and the health score is low and I want to learn more, I can just come here and all of the governance rules are run in one place. So in this example, I have anonymous access enabled to Dataverse. So this just gives me more information on what that means, first of all, and then how to mitigate it through this Learn More link. Now, the next part I want to show is the analytics. So this is really all about the end users accessing your site. So this gives you a view of the monthly, weekly, daily active usage towards your site here with these different charts. So from here, you can select a different environment. And then within that environment, you can also filter by a specific site and a duration. So in addition to that, we also have the month-over-month change. So as an admin, you can see that trend over time. As you see, this is about when we started working on the demo, so not that long ago. These are the main things that I wanted to show here, and just to really highlight the power that's available to you in the admin center. And we're trying to make everything in one place so it's easy for admins to just have that holistic view for all their sites across the tenant. So with that, that's the end of this demo, and I will pass it back to Cindy.
So thank you, Brad. That was a great demo. So in the last few minutes, let's do a quick recap and take a look at our roadmap. So many of the new features that we shared today have either been recently released or is rolling out this week at Ignite. We're continuing to invest across these 3 pillars, so you can expect many more features to come in the next few months. Some notable mentions I want to call out here are around virtual table support for Salesforce and Oracle DB that will be coming soon. We also have new out-of-the-box data components such as card galleries and accordions are in plan. And then Power FX in Design Studio will also be coming soon, which means that makers will be able to add dynamic content on web pages in a low-code manner. And then many of the admin and governance settings that we talked about today, such as security insights, the ability to control authentication providers, and even the licensing dashboard are all coming soon. And though we didn't cover the Copilot capabilities in this session, here's the Power Pages generative AI roadmap that highlights some of the Copilot releases in our last few months. We've seen great momentum in the space, and there's a growing number of customers using Power Pages Copilot. And this concludes the content we have for this session. Thank you all for joining us today. And if anyone has any questions for us, there's a mic right there in the middle, then we'll be happy to take a couple of questions. We have a few minutes left. Yes, do you want?
I just had a question about the pricing of Power Pages. Could you just go over that? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah, just the questions. It talked about authenticated users and unauthenticated users and things like that. So what's kind of the base price and how's it tiered from there?
The base price?
Yeah, base price.
Oh, so the question was about the pricing for Power Pages. So we actually, the best way to check that is to go on the website where we show you the different tiers of pricing, and there are specific ones for anonymous access and for authenticated users. So the details are actually on our website. I don't remember the exact numbers for the pricing and the different tiers.
Hi, my question is about the Power Automate flow that generated the credit card page. My understanding is that the Power Automate flow URL is basically like a freely available on the internet type of thing. I was wondering if there's any authentication that's built into that, so that logged in users will-
in the setup workspace, you can actually restrict who can trigger that workflow within the Power Pages site. So in that setup workspace, when you edit the flow, you have the roles available that you can choose from there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the session. Is it, do you plan to release multiple use case templates so we can take and start from there?
So the question is about
Ready to use templates.
templates. So we have a template library today, and I think like in moving forward, I'll be happy to actually to show you also offline is around using our Maker Copilot experiences to generate the template for you. I don't know if you've tried it yet, but there is an experience now where you can describe the type of site you want to build, and our Maker Copilot experience will create a template as a starting point for you.
I just checked your pricing on the licensing and all that stuff. So it says $200 for 100 users, authenticated users. But how many sites can you create with that capacity, one capacity license?
We can follow up at the booth.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, Sandeep can take that.
I'll just use this mic. So first of all, to start with, you don't need a license to start creating Power Pages, right? So you can start to develop free, but as you go take the site public, right, when you go live, that's when you need the additional add-on capacity. And based on your use case, if you have anonymous usage or authenticated user, or you could have both actually, right? You could buy these add-ons for the price. For exact question about how many sites that you can create, there's actually no limit. Technically, we have imposed around a limit of 50 sites, which is per environment, and that's more than sufficient for most of our customers. But yeah, you don't have to really, need a license to start developing Power Pages.
And is it only for
Ours doesn't.
internal employees? Because we have some guest, so the authenticated users.
Yes. So here you have a choice of authentication provider, right? Your internal organizational users could use Microsoft Entra, Azure Active Directory, or you could use any of the external OpenID Connect or SAML-based auth providers.
Yeah, but in our Intra, we do have external users added as guests. So that's included in this.
Yes, that will work.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, it was basically about internal users versus external users. I think I got an idea about that. Thank you very much. Okay.
Hi, good morning. This is Premdat Gaur. My question is around the operational aspect of it, like how you manage from development to the test and then the production, when the static content may be the same, and some of the static content may differ.
Okay, so your question is around how do you manage it across the different development stages, this test, and then to production for your site. So Power Pages supports application lifecycle management, so ALM. So we actually encourage you to follow the Power Platform guidance on ALM. So you will have an environment for development, another environment for test, and another environment for production, and you'll use solution packages to move those changes across those environments.
Thank you very much. And I assume this works with the ADO?
Yeah,
you could
use ADO as well. So you could use GitHub or ADO along for it as your source code or for your big automation.
Thank you very much.
So just for the mic, the answer was yes, it is supported. Go ahead.
Hi there. I have a roadmap question for you, and it's really about how you see Power Pages and the future of Dynamics 365 Customer Insights, Dynamics 365 Commerce, some of the portals you can do with Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. Where do you see the future of Power Pages? Is it an emerge? Is it an either or? That's my question.
That's a good question. I think for us, how we see it, because Dynamics 365 customers have been using Power Pages, we rebranded it from Power Apps portals for a long time, right? So I think our plans are to continue to support those experiences. So if you're a Dynamics user, like you should be able to continue to build Power Pages sites. And if there are specific like scenarios or like requirements that you have, like I'll be happy to chat offline to learn more about like your specific use cases that aren't being met today.
Oh, it's really more about, some of those other Dynamics products have almost competing, portal aspects to them. And so like the question is, where do customers put, do we put their energy towards building it out through D365 Commerce, or should we be looking more at Power Pages? Like, how do we make sure that we're putting our investments in the right place so that we don't get blocked into a corner when there's a sudden left turn with the product?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think like there are, like right now we haven't publicly announced anything yet. There are discussions around these, around like we want those experiences to be more seamless, right, for our users, because I think like at the end of the day, you want to make sure that, hey, if you're using one of the Dynamics products or Power Pages, right, it works seamlessly together. So there are plans, and I think right now, if there are concerns around like specific products that you're working in Dynamics, right, where you're like, hey, I'm not sure, should I be using Power Pages for that? We should chat more to understand, to make sure that your company and your organization are successful.
Wonderful, thank you.
And we'll be at the booth upstairs.
Yes.
Good morning. I have a couple of them. So how these apps are deployed? Like these are deployed as containerized apps, or do we have flexibility to deploy some other way as well? Like as in virtual directory, so we have developed now. So these have to be deployed. So how I'm going to deploy these?
Sandeep can take
Just
that.
go on the mic there, Sandeep.
Yeah. So first of all, this is a SaaS service, right? So you don't have to actually, kind of deploy it manually in Azure, etc. So we, of course, the backend host for these Power Pages website is the Azure Web Application, right? Okay. And we take care of that from app registration to deployment and everything. All you have to do is spin up a new website, and the ALM that Cindy just spoke about, right? You can use the concept of solution and packages to just migrate from dev to test to prod. That is what the lifecycle looks like for ALM, but you don't have to really deploy any of the infrastructural aspects. For Power Pages.
Scalability automatically will be taken care by.
We take care of that. It's also connected to your licensing, how much you have purchased in terms of capacity, and that auto scales these websites based on your needed capacity and the usage.
Right. And out of curiosity, when we develop these,
Sorry, can you just use the mic, please?
yeah. So when we develop these, so what is the actual code written behind the scene? Is there any language? Obviously, they would be like C#, Python. So. In which language we are generating that code?
You want to come up?
Sure. So we support, it's basically HTML, right, to start with. And then we support on the client side all JavaScripts and jQueries and all those popular libraries, right? For server side, we have support for Liquid Code, which was the Shopify's programming language, right? We support server side using that. And then we have web templates to bring it all together, right? So you can have HTML plus all of this code written for all your pro developer needs. But to start with, that's what the emphasis is, right? It's a low-code, no-code product. You can actually start creating your site maps, your site structures, web pages, content, language locales, etc., just from the UI, right? All of that. And also there's a companion configuration app. It's really when you really have to take things to another level, right? Add validations, behaviors, business process automation. That is where all of the pro dev things that you saw today come handy. But it's all supported, and we support from the pro dev, you support ALM, we support programming languages, and you can build integrations as well using cloud flows, or you could directly connect with APIs.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.